been a week since I've streamed last. That's right. It's me, Warren Hayes, on the Warren Hayes Show channel. And we are going to be hanging out here talking about some pro wrestling for a couple of hours. How you doing? Week is almost done. It's the start of, we're in the midst, in the throes, I should say, of WrestleMania week. Very exciting stuff. Off of the big Dynasty pay-per-view. All-time Dynamite that happened last night. Hot diggity damn. Hot diggity. It's been, it's a good couple of days. I'm not gonna lie. Having a nice time. Wrestling can be cool. So there you go. So there you go. What have I been up to over the past week or so? Oh well, you know. This and that. Had a pretty busy schedule, not gonna lie, especially with if you recall, my mother is currently still in hospital, recovering now from hip surgery. She broke her hip 2 weeks ago, or close to 2 weeks ago, and so going over there, keeping making sure she's okay, along with my sister and whatnot, and then I also had some, everyone always has some personal business on top of that. So there's all sorts of stuff, and work, and all of that stuff. That's pretty much it. Have I been doing anything really interesting? No, I think fairly mundane stuff. Nothing really to talk about. Nothing really to start harping on, I wouldn't say. I'm literally thinking, but there's like there's not much. There really hasn't been much. I'm mostly I'm mostly taking time to look out for my mom, and that's really what's most important. And maybe catch some wrestling in between. The timing kind of sucks because it is WrestleMania. Because it is WrestleMania week this week, so there's a lot of stuff I'd like to be watching. But look, what do you want from me? You gotta make sure that the people you love are okay and on and in a good vibe, and more than a good vibe, that they're well taken care of. So there you go. Maybe some things will come to me as we keep going on, as this start to the stream develops. But as it stands right now, haven't got much to report there, fellows. And I hope you will not hold it against me. But in the meantime, look, this is what we'll do. We'll say hello. We'll say hello to people who are dropping in, showing up, like Meggie O'Kenna. How you doing, Meggie? Welcome to the chat. Also, Meggie happens to be a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Appreciate it. Thank you for your support. You need a haircut? So do I, brother. Maybe we could be haircut buddies. My hair is very long, but like this is usually the time of year where I get it cut fairly short to sort of deal with the upcoming heat. So there you go. It was so cold today I had to wear 2 tank tops. Boy, oh boy, that's a rough one. That's a rough go. Luis Ramirez, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Thank you very much. I appreciate you listening to the Dynamite review. Very much appreciate the kind words as well. I mean, when a wrestling show is good, typically the reviews are not all that hard. They're extra fun to do then, just like today. Dynamite review is out on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Although, don't watch it now. Yeah, I'm live right now. You got to focus. Right now, you have to focus on me being live. Okay? Okay. Glad we sorted that out. Mike McCullough, nice to see you. Welcome. She's hanging in there. Thank you for asking. She's quite frankly, I find she's doing better every day. And like she was in very good spirits. She's in very good spirits, and they've been doing physiotherapy there in the hospital. And what was it like? I go and see her. Yeah, no, it was when I went to see her yesterday. You just see her 24 hours later, and I go in and she's sitting in her chair having lunch. And I sit down with her and I have some lunch with her, and then she starts like moving it's her right hip that got broke, and starts moving her right leg, and I'm like, Mom, look, you're moving your right leg. She says, oh yeah. yeah. I've been doing this for no, you haven't. So it's good. Like she's healing up. She's taking to it. It's good news. Thank you for asking. AEW1, aka Travis, nice to see you. Welcome. I, for one, welcome our new emo skater punk overlord. Good old Darby. Congratulations to him. Another controversial decision that has split the fan base. I mean, did it really split the fan base, or is it always the same people in the fan base complaining? And sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder. Like I don't know how to put this without sounding completely and utterly mean. And there are people that I know that I really like who would fit into this category. And I don't want them to feel like I'm being mean to them. So let's go about it this way. I think, I think it's a hypothesis, if anything, right? I kind of feel like, despite all the noise about Hangman winning last year and how important and crucial it would be for Hangman and whatnot, the business of AEW really did only start to pick up when particularly when MJF was world champion. So look, I like Hangman Adam Page a lot. I think he is a tremendous talent. I think he's unique and special and brings things to the table that a lot of people don't, as far as his presentation goes, as far as what he does in the ring, how he handles himself. He's a very special talent. But yeah, I think his fans are not as loud. No, they're very loud. They're not as numerous as many people would say or think they are. Yeah. Because otherwise, I would have assumed that right now, all of, and particularly since Revolution, I would have assumed that all business metrics would be pointing down. Now, this is not to say that I think that the Hangman is like a void or an anti-draw. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the amount of noise that was generated last year in the lead up and post victory of All In was maybe a little disproportionate to how the base really does react to the Hangman. I'm just saying. And besides, here's the thing. There's one thing that I've understood also about the most vocal and fierce Hangman fans is that they have a set, very short set of approved world champions that it's okay if they are champion, or particularly if they dethrone the Hangman, right? Swerve Strickland is on that list for one. MJF is not on that list for one. I don't think Darby is on the list. I don't think he's on it either. But if, maybe not a lot of them know that for a while last year, the plan was for Darby Allin to win at All In against Jon Moxley. Like, that was the plan. I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but put one and one together and you can go, oh, wait, Hangman winning the Owen and all that would have never happened. That would have been all Darby Allin. So I kind of feel like if had they known that Darby was anointed before Hangman and had potentially could have bounced Hangman, the Hangman fans would probably not feel very good about Darby Allin. I think they don't necessarily feel good about him here. I think they're pulling, it's when you see people pulling out all sorts of excuses, to try and justify something. There's always the personal stuff with Darby that people always bring up, and that your mileage varies on, right? That's always a thing. But like he always has the same match structure. His matches are boring. It's always the same thing. It's hard to go against taste, right? But it's like anything. It's like I have much more respect for someone who just outright says, I do not like this person, instead of trying to intellectualize reasons to try and get me on your side. Just come out, and especially when it's preposterous, right? Like saying Will Ospreay is a wrestler. Will Ospreay wrestles like Big John Studd, right? That's a thing that went around for a couple of days this week. I would like to think that I don't do that. If I tell you, look, Hikaru Shida stinks, I think I'll give you reasons, but I'm not going to try and overly intellectualize it. I'm just going to give you the reasons why I think she stinks. And I'm not going to try and make it a rule of law. If I'm like, I don't know what Hikaru Shida is doing in modern day 2026 AEW, and it's mostly because I don't like her. I don't like her because I don't think she's very good. I think that's most. If people just came out and said, I hate Darby Allin, instead of creating reasons, I respect much more than making stuff up or trying to say, oh well, now Darby Allin is going to have to wrestle like a champion. He's going to need like a diversity of his matches. His matches are going to have to change structure, and they're going to have to become better. He's going to have to do more moves and stuff. And I'm like, no, that's preposterous. Could you imagine, telling, Nick Bockwinkel, it's like, you're going to have to mix up your style here, pal, now that you're world champion. Like it's preposterous. It's like I said it's like I said in the review last week, and the preview, I should say, last week on stream. And then this fucking nonsense that I talked about on the review today, on the Dynamite review, is that why would you change what brought Darby to the table? Why would you change that? Darby got over and is a star because he's perfected the scrappy underdog archetype in modern wrestling. He takes a fucking beating. He always comes back for more. And then suddenly he can pull out a win out of nowhere. That's Darby Allin. Why would you change that? Why would he suddenly have to do anything else? Because then you're like, wow, this is kind of weird. This is kind of strange. If you listen to the review, you know already, I have no problems with what happened last night. No problems. I even think it's great. I even think it's sensational. I think it's a great thing that they did. Unpredictability, man. It's good. It's good. It's interesting. People acting like, how can they find opponents for him for the next 3 months or so? Who are going to be the? And I'm like, his reign doesn't have to last 3 months. In fact, it shouldn't. Darby's reign should come to an end at Double or Nothing, quite frankly. And even if he wins it, even if he loses it back to MJF, I don't care. Just as long as it all makes sense and it's good. I have no issues with the squash, and I know, like, you know, I said on the review, oh well, we won't get into the reasons. We won't start breaking down like minutia, but I guess we can here, because I understand certain arguments where it's like, well, MJF wrestled for 40 minutes against Kenny Omega. You're going to tell me that scrawny little Darby Allin is going to beat him within 2 minutes and like utterly beat him, right? That MJF is going to take more punishment in 2 minutes from Darby Allin than he took from Kenny fucking Omega in 20 minutes and 40 minutes. And I understand that opinion. And when you take it like that, you're like, yeah, I agree. It doesn't quite make sense, does it? But what they did here was just continue some very basic stories. Things that are just very, very elementary in the world of pro wrestling. And in AEW, I don't know if you've noticed, in AEW, most of the time, not saying all the time, but whenever there's a world champion change, right? That guy rarely shows up on the following Dynamite. It's as if they're selling the victory, selling the beating they took, you know, and then they'll come back the week after. And they'll be refreshed and whatnot. Will be. I'm not saying that it's a constant. What I'm saying is that it happens more often than not. So Max not showing up so Max showing up on Dynamite this week broke the norm, but they kept it in kayfabe. They made us understand that this is unusual because he is hurt. He should be away resting, but MJF showed up nonetheless. Was like, I'm gonna wrestle, I'm gonna show up, you know, with my belt and whatnot. And he's telling everyone, I can't wrestle. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. No one told me I was gonna get this match. Plus, I'm hurt. And Max went into this overestimating himself. And it happened not too long ago where Max went into a match where he underestimated his opponent, and the opponent beat him summarily, very, very quickly. Like, am I the only one who sees the through line here? It's Max's own fucking fault. He fucked up. Now, if he comes back next week, if he shows up and complains that, you know, he didn't have the time, that he was sideswiped, that he was, we're all going to agree with him. We're going to be like, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're all right. You know, it's like, I don't have an issue with it at all. And it's like, it's exactly how Darby Allin is, you know, where he shortcuts because he knows he's got to be able to use all of the scrappy techniques he can. He does the the death drop, and he does 4 coffin drops. It's not as if he decided, he beat MJF, with a quick roll up. He knew what he had to do nonetheless. I don't know. I have no issues with what happened. I have not a single issue with what happened. Now, not to discredit if you do, that's fine. We can have differentiating opinions and still enjoy each other's company. But it's like at some point, you just chill the fuck out. I don't know. Everyone is saying Darby should have a short reign. Tony Khan seems like he's making a point in 2026 of subverting expectations. Yeah, well. I mean, I also think he should have a short reign because I don't think, because here's the thing, and it's not okay. Trying to say too many things at once. Because I don't think it's something where it's like, oh, Darby shouldn't have a long reign. It's not a reflection on Darby. It's more like the Darby character. Darby Allin is absolutely a guy who's, he's absolutely a guy whose interest is in the chase more than being the chased. I think that's more his thing. It's hard because it's hard to be the underdog when you're the champion, right? If you're the top guy or gal, you can't turn around and say, oh, but I'm the underdog. You can't do that. It doesn't work. If you're in power and you're complaining that that everyone else is after you, well, no, you can't do that. It's like it doesn't make sense. It doesn't come across as a real thing anyway. So I'm okay with I'm okay with Darby having a short reign, and he should have a short reign. But that's just my opinion. But it's not because of hate. I think it's just good booking. I think it's just good booking. And not everyone needs to have extended reigns. No, not everyone has to have these long fucking reigns or whatnot. You can just move along very quickly, I think. Dr. Antox, it is nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. The Hangman fans wrote off Darby once he went up the mountain. Yeah, they didn't see him as a threat anymore, so they like Darby. I've never seen people so damn divided over an AEW angle since the Death Riders. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's because I follow just a bunch of really level-headed, smart people. I have seen on social, I've barely seen any negative, like angry, passionate discourse regarding Darby Allin winning the title. I've seen a whole bunch of people thinking it's good, thinking it's a good idea. The people that I've seen disagree with are very articulate about it. And I'm like, okay, I see your point. I don't agree with it, but I understand where you're coming from. But I haven't seen any like no one torching the place down or getting really upset. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. Big Man Dogs. Very nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I'm surprised how controversial the Darby win has been on social media. The video has a 95% like ratio. 96%, excuse me. I'm perfectly fine with him having a quick little Luger Foley reign. I think there's just a bunch of really loud people, you know, and since I'm not on Twitter, I didn't see like the usual awful people commenting on it, which are the people that usually drive these feelings, these discussions, and they should be ignored. They should not be taken into consideration because they don't like the product. They probably don't even watch the product. They're just there to farm engagement. So, you know, it's hard grifting. It's hard work doing the WWE grift. Darby having a run like OC's international title would be great. Orange Cassidy's reign was quite long. Is that what you're implying? And I don't think you can. Like, I think by nature you can't do that with your world championship. Like, could you imagine, let's say Rampage was still around and then Darby shows up on Rampage to fight, you know, fucking Alan Angels for the... You know what I mean? Carlos, nice to see you. Welcome to the Chat Brother Sports and Things show. It's nice to see you. Stop bragging that you're not on AEW Reddit, Warren. There's reasons for that. Reddit sucks. Reddit stinks. You know the only moments that everything fandom related on Reddit, every fandom related subreddit on Reddit, of course, stinks. They're all awful. But when you go to when you use Reddit, let's say for tips on how to fix things, how to troubleshoot things, it is systematically helpful to me every time. Either I find the answer, or if I can't find it, I'll post the question and people will help me out. It's always lovely experiences. But there's no fucking way in hell I'm spending any time on Squared Circle or Reddit or the AEW subreddit, or, you know, no way in hell am I hanging out on any of those spots. I heard the Double or Nothing match is some kind of new gimmick multi-man. Oh no. Oh no. I don't like that, sir. Oh, where Darby gets a ton of defenses and keeps defying expectations. Not necessarily long. Sure, okay. I think it's just trickier to do with the it's trickier to do with your world title, I think. Kind of like Mox, maybe, right? All right. Well, why don't we get this shoe on the road then for this week in pro wrestling? Warren? Yeah, because we've got stuff to talk about tonight, but before we get into that, leave a like on the stream, please. That'd be really nice and super keen of you. And I'd appreciate it on top of that. Then after that, what else can I talk about? Hey, the MrWarrenHayes show was released yesterday. It's available right now for everyone, and including my my Dynasty review. It is a part of the podcast that was released yesterday, so go ahead and enjoy that. You can enjoy it on YouTube. You can enjoy it on your favorite podcast application. That's all fantastic. As we mentioned, the Dynamite review as well is available as well on YouTube and your favorite podcast stuff. So all of that great amount of content. And in case you didn't know, the Dynasty review was available earlier this week in early access. That's what early availability is, you know, Warren. It was available in early access to members of the MrWarrenHayes show channel. So if you were like, hey, I'll support our boy Warren and all that, I'd like to do a little something there. Well, you can become a member of the channel, hit the join button, and then guess what? Show a little support and you get early access to my stuff. Life is grand. Let's see, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. It is WrestleMania this weekend. WrestleMania 41, right? 42? 42. It's WrestleMania 42. WrestleMania 42. I knew that. And I am continuing my non-coverage of WWE events. So no, we are not previewing. We are not previewing WrestleMania 42. If you want a preview of WrestleMania 42, there are thousands of other podcasts out there who are doing that this week. Literally thousands. You don't need me to throw my hat into that as well. And I am not reviewing it either. If there's stuff that, if there are big things that happen, there are things that happen that impact the industry. Of course, we will talk about it. Of course we will. But just in case, I'm just throwing that out there. If you thought that I was going to preview a show, a promotion that I don't watch, no. And there, like I said, there is more than enough folks out there. Are more than enough folks out there that are doing the WWE thing and preview and all of that. So you really don't need me. I'm just superfluous. Superfluous is pretty cool too, but I'm mostly superfluous. All right. I watched the review early and thought of all the peons who had to wait. There you go. Mike McCullough gets it. Mike's got it down. He knows. All the plebeians get to watch the podcast. They get to watch the review together. Whereas the members, the elite class, the coastal elites of the Mr. Warren Hayes show, they get to enjoy those fruits before everyone else, before they got to share with the commoners. I'm surprised you liked Camille because the Peanut Gallery hated her and wished she never came back. You know why the Peanut Gallery doesn't like her? Because of her politics. That's why they don't like her. You know, Camille is not just Camille. Look, if wrestling fans only knew what a lot of their favorite wrestlers' politics are, there'd be a cancel train going on. Holy smokes. Toledo, baby. Let me tell you. But here's the thing. I like Camille. And now I'm finding myself in a position where I want to like Camille. I don't mind her half as much as most people do, but I also recognize, like I said in the review today, she's a very dry personality. She's very dry, and I don't think she has the big room energy. You know what I mean? And some wrestlers have it, some, and some don't. A couple of years ago, when she was still in NWA, and this was probably for the 2023 list, I would say, I stuck up for Camille big time in the PWI's women's 250 list that year. I fought for her to be in the top 10 because she had been having just an unprecedented run with the title, the women's title in NWA, and she was having arguably some of the best matches on those pay-per-views. And people were ready to discount her and put Liv Morgan over and so on and so forth. So I stuck up for her. And Because, you know, I thought she deserved that kind of spot, you know, within the criteria of the PWI list, of course. Now, look, she's been gone for such a long while. She comes back. She has this one match, which I think she did pretty good in. I think she looked good. I think she wrestled well. She didn't embarrass herself. She had a solid game plan. It worked. But the match ends and I'm like, I'm indifferent. I'm indifferent to what happened. I looked at what I saw and I was like, this is a very competent match. This is actually quite good, going very well. Smart game plan. She's slick. She's it was very, very good. But the match ends and I go, all right. Okay. I really don't mind her half as much as other people do. And look, what do you want from me? She's a Republican. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? You know, it is what it is. You know who else is a Republican? Sting. You know, and I don't think I'm breaking any news here. You know, I think you just have to scratch the surface a little bit, and you'll find that out fairly quickly, easily, I should say. You know, it's like, it's just people pointing out things. Yeah, again, you know, again, they're using things for people they don't like. That's all. Just focusing on things. It's rules for you, for ye, and not for me type of thing. You know, could you imagine if it had been, let's say, I'm just throwing a name out there, EC3, who had met up with Marty Skrull at the Cracker Barrel and took a picture with him. Everyone would be fucking burying EC3, quite frankly. But it's the Hangman, so I'm going to give Hangman some grace. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes. That's just how the fandom goes. I'm not going to, I can't do anything about it. I can't affect it in any way. I can just do my own thing and live by it. And if some people agree with what I do, well, and how I view things, all the more power. If not, well, there's 1,000 other podcasts out there. That's the thing. Like, that's the funny thing when I get all these emails and these classes on how to, you know, grow your podcast, and you have to do this, you got to do that. And on YouTube, you got to find the trending topics and whatnot. And I'm like, I don't want an audience of people who are looking at trending topics. Like, ultimately, this is the thing that no one ever talks about, really, because everyone keeps talking about growth. But I think it is, and I understand why you have to talk about growth, because that's how you become more popular on YouTube, and that's how you start making money and more money and so on. So I understand. But when that's not your objective, you know, growth becomes extremely difficult. It becomes really, really, really fucking difficult. Especially when you're like, I want to be choosy about my audience. I'm not going to do things to just like drag in everyone. I don't want everyone. I want people who think about wrestling in a certain way, that they approach it kind of like I do, that we can all connect and sit around and exchange ideas. And we'll disagree sometimes and so on. But, you know, I don't want, I don't want massive amounts of viewers. I much prefer having a more curated audience, I guess is the word. And even that sounds a little pretentious. If I was one of the people who got back into WWE in 2023, 2024, I couldn't care less now. Oh God, it's so bad. This is the saddest WrestleMania build of all time, I believe. I need you to make shorts of your reel if you're not going to mind if I do. You mean reels of my videos? Like shorts? Yeah, I guess. I mean, sometimes I don't know. I can mix them sometimes. I mean, like if you want to clip things, I mean, I can't stop anyone from clipping things. I have a love-hate relationship with short form video. I really do. In regards to what I do, I find it very hard to be concise. I don't know if you've noticed. I find it very, very difficult to be concise. So it's like whenever I sit down and I start thinking about maybe I should make some clips, because that's another thing you've got to do, you know, it's SEO friendly. And so when I sit down and I think about it and I start looking at, let's say I scrabble through a video, I'm like, oh, what about this? But what about this? I said, well, I mean, this clip is interesting, but then you need the context around it, and then it becomes 8 minutes. And like, okay, so this is not going to work as a reel, as a short, as a TikTok. I refuse to post on TikTok. I've always thought TikTok to be a trash platform. But Warren, that's where all the young people are. It's fine. Okay, I don't want them then. I don't want TikTokers, TikTok viewers. Like, don't forget that the TikTok viewers are the same people who created that trend of the NPCs, right? Where you'd have people just do the one thing over and over again, and then they'd react like an NPC to emojis and shit, and people would give them money. And these are the people on TikTok. I got no use for them. Anyway. I get not liking a wrestler for their politics, but I will never pretend a wrestler sucks because they're a bad person. I'll just not talk about them. And most wrestlers agree with Camille. Exactly. Camille might have it tough in AEW now because AEW isn't exactly lacking big women. If anything, they lack the opposite. And I think you'll be surprised if you ever see Megan Bayne next to Camille. I think you might be in for a surprise. I've stood next to Camille. I'm taller than Camille. I'm 6'1". So, you know, it's not like I'm not a giant by any means, not a small man, but I'm taller than Camille nonetheless. I think a lot of people put their shit on Camille. Remember that Cornette interviewed her? Yeah, but it was such a normal interview. There was nothing. I think they were hoping that she'd shit on AEW and whatnot, but she didn't. But I also understand Cornette is the Antichrist too. Like, you know, I understand that. It's funny how Vince Russo gets a pass though. Oh, that's right. Collision is on because I'm still thinking it's like, oh, the Thursday night stream tonight, kind of a hard sell. Because sure, Collision is one thing. Then on top of that, you've got all of the you've got the WrestleMania week stuff, and it's a big night. Thursday is a big night. We got all of that. Oh, and TNA. Oh, by the way, and TNA. I think Carlos is going to be all unhappy again. Anyway. Collision is delayed an hour on my AEW and Triller. Really? Weird. Megan Bayne is very tall. Megan Bayne is a legit tall lady. Camille is not. Camille looks tall and big in comparison because most women wrestlers are short. That's the thing. Most women's wrestlers are short. This is not a knock. This is just the reality. They're not tall people. Most of them. Anyway. Okay, we got stuff to talk about here. We've got things to talk about here tonight. So let's head on over. Let's get on over to our boy Jacques Moliere to begin things and kick things off here tonight.
Hi, I'm Jacques Moliere.
That's right. Wait a second. Hey, do your presentation properly, you fucking
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling.
Hoo-yah! Chuck is covering Podermania. Ugh, poor guy. I heard Podermania sucks. Hey, since it's been a while, we're doing the double dip, folks.
How you doing, everybody? Don't mess with me because I'm from Staten Island, New York. Do you want to get a little more action up in here?
Yes.
Mountain State Wrestling is real. That's right, you can't say it's fake. How do you get hit with a steel chair and walk away and say it ain't all right? Because it is all right. That's what we do here because we hardcore. Mountain State Wrestling, represent West Virginia. Take it back to New York City.
That's right.
Back in the street when we was keeping it real, rocking that beat.
All right, this fucking geek. Okay. This other geek comes in and is like, no, we're done. You know, what? No one wants to see this guy. No one wants to see this guy. Who wants to see this guy? No one is who. That's who. No one. Everyone. This is our docket tonight. Are you going to rank the NFL AEW Lucha masks from 1 to 32? That's actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea. You think there's a tier maker that no, probably no, right? There's not someone who's done that already. Like a tier maker list. That'd be great. You could just I think it requires just a little more preparation than what I'm ready to do here. But I should do that, right? Okay, so when we last spoke to each other on stream, we were in the midst of Carlos Silva pulling his talent out of independent shows, including the Ricochet versus Leon Slater match from the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Show at WrestleCon this week at WrestleMania week, during WrestleMania week, I should say, and also pulled the plug on Nick Nemeth versus MJF over there at Creative Pro. And I thought we had covered everything. Last week. Took the time to make a lot of fun at the expense of Carlos Silva, calling him a geek, right? Maybe referring to his actions as bitch made. And then I turn around and then Pat Buck issued a statement. Now, I recorded a little extra something for the podcast this week covering the Pat Buck statement. Because I was like, okay, I'm just gonna come and add this on the podcast proper, so as to not have, because then what happens is that then I talk about the Pat Buck thing today on Thursday, and then it doesn't show up on the podcast for another week. Now it's really fucking old news because the Pat Buck stuff happened at the end of last week, so then it becomes like really old news and it's preposterous, and people tuning into the podcast next week will be like, Warren, what the fuck are you talking about? So I recorded my thoughts on the Pat Buck statement and I added them to the already existing Carlos Silva stream highlights. So if you want to hear my thoughts on what Pat Buck said, my full thoughts, it's right there. Spoiler alert, Pat Buck is entirely in the right and paints a really clear picture of how much this decision he made was complete and utter nonsense. But then in the meantime, we have this little video here that comes up that showed up here on Post Wrestling. Here, let me pull up a thing here. Okay. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. After the Pat Buck statement, essentially, Post Wrestling had themselves a little interview with the booker of WrestleCon, ergo the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Show, Michael Bucchicchio, I believe it's how it's pronounced, Michael Bucchicchio, to talk about specifically what happened. Now, I have the video queued up here. I'd like us to listen to it a little bit. We're not going to listen to the entire thing, but we're going to listen to a substantial portion of it. And the reason why is because it is utterly interesting, fascinating, and I think it's more interesting than me just like reading off the quotes. And I will give you my thoughts as we go along so that we're not just stealing views off of poor John and Wei. And I say poor John and Wei as if, I pity them. I don't. But look, we'll just fire it up and I'll add some commentaries as we go along. But this is the interview. This is the interview that John and Wei did with Michael Bucchicchio of the WrestleCon, the booker of WrestleCon, essentially.
Much has been focused on the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show this coming Thursday. Can you just tell us a little bit about what this last week has been like for you? An unfortunate setback with Leon Slater, but also a lot of attention.
Unfortunate setback is putting it mildly there, John.
On the show as well. Has this been one of the more tougher lead-ups to a Mania Week show when you are dealing with different promotions and such?
Well, the majority of the problems certainly aren't related to the who's the main eventing the Mark Hitchcock show. That was a little hiccup, but we got through.
That was a little hiccup. That was his marquee match, one of the most circled WrestleMania week matches. Well, was a little hiccup.
Through it, and I want to thank everybody that lended their help. Speedball, Kevin Knight, Tony Khan for kind of like pulling us out of a bad situation. But
right, because they all moved in to help replace the main event. That was very cool of everyone.
Most of what I deal with on a day-to-day basis has to do with the vendors, the hotel.
Because you do realize, like, technically, it should have been TNA to step up and do the thing, right? This was part of Pat Buck's statement. I mean, look, I knew, if you followed wrestling for a little bit, and especially independent wrestling, you already knew that, if something has to happen and you have to pull talent for whatever reason, you at the very least try to have a make do, where it's like, well, okay, you can't have this talent, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to do this, and that for you. We're going to try and make it better for you. And Carlos Silva did jack shit. And it's AEW that then is like, well, we'll send you more talent. Whereas Carlos Silva didn't do jack shit.
The travel, those are the issues that really, for me, take up most of the time. But obviously most of the attention happened because Leon Slater got pulled, and it was unfortunate because I'm a big fan of Leon.
Was that supposed to be a brag? Everyone likes Leon Slater. What's it? No, that was just a joke.
This whole match was started because Leon and Ricochet share the same agent, who is a friend of mine, somebody I work with all the time.
That's very interesting, by the way.
And the whole goal of this whole match was to make Leon Slater kind of a made man. Every.
I don't know if you folks heard this, but the stuff that's about to come up is probably going to frustrate you a great deal. It's probably just going to upset you. Yeah. I mean, like straight right out the gate, he's like, yeah, the idea here was for us to put Leon Slater in a match where he was going to look good. And we decided to put him into this match with Ricochet, with whom he shares an agent. So, there's a lot of trust going on here. And Ricochet, one of the top wrestlers on the planet, a guy who can still go as acrobatically and stylistically as much as he could years ago. A guy who can get into the ring and have an excellent match with anyone. We're going to put him into the match with this guy to make him look better, to make him a made man. Like, come on. You know, I don't know what the issue was here. Like, this was obviously the play.
WrestleMania weekend, aside from what happens with WWE, there's always a few people that really increase their profile by having really tremendous matches. And Leon was certainly slated to have that this week.
And especially through WrestleCon, which is generally the Mark Hitchcock Memorial, is generally one of the most viewed, most watched events. You know, maybe Janela is the only one whose event is bigger in profile and draws more. Maybe that would be my guess. The spring break.
If this match is kind of like, tell me just a bit about like the process that you have to go through when you're dealing with performers with different companies. Like, my understanding was like all the channels, they were all checked off. Everyone agreed. But like, what's the process? Like the first step of getting.
What a great question by John, honestly.
Something like this.
Well, that's what made this one such a frustrating experience, because this wasn't a situation. A lot of people just think, oh, well, you're a WWE weekend. Of course, they have the ability to kind of control those things. We didn't have the guys announce this match and then, management's now surprised. We went directly to Leon's boss. We went directly to Ricochet's boss.
I hope this is clear. I hope this is very clear to everyone that, you know, like you said, this wasn't a situation where we announced the match and management was surprised, like he said. They talked to the bosses here.
We told them what the finish of the match would be to protect the individuals. And I'm not going to go into more than that, but a lot of people just think, well, they didn't want Leon to lose. Well, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Leon wasn't losing. So
this is the part that really frustrated me. This was the part that I was really frustrated on, is like, there was no reason to be worried then that, Leon Slater was going to lose to the AEW guy. The finish had been set, as is the case for most of these situations, right? The who's and the how's, how we get to the finish. That's mostly just like set up, at the show, or, amongst the wrestlers themselves, how exactly we get there. But the finish is very, very clear. That's usually agreed upon before we get to these situations here. Before we get to the matches is what I'm trying to say, excuse me. And the fact that, like, TNA couldn't even pull a, oh, well, we didn't want our guy to lose. Carlos, your guy was winning. You dummy. You big dummy. Hey, DGMC, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also member of the channel. And Boris, nice to see you too. Welcome. Streets are saying TK was letting Slater go over because Ospreay made the call to Leon. Oh, I mean, look, okay. Now we're getting into the weeds a little bit. Wouldn't be surprising.
Come up with a different theory on why they pulled him, because that had nothing to do with it. The match was cleared. The finish was cleared. Both guys were very excited. We obviously were excited. We understood how unique it was to have a match like this on this type of show. And then, unfortunately, circumstances changed. Leon got pulled, and we had to make the changes we did.
Show of hands, folks. Anyway, who had this match circled on their WrestleMania week viewing? Like, everyone had this match circled.
Can you tell us, how you found out that Leon would be pulled? Who it was that actually informed you?
The internet.
Oh! The guy finds out the match is pulled by the fucking internet, by people spamming on Twitter. Incredible. Like, you're the guy running the fucking show, and you find out your main event, or whatever this was scheduled for, right, is pulled off of the fucking internet.
Oh,
is that
so
right?
There was no heads up.
Dave Meltzer.
Hang on, I want to play this again because I want you to get. There's a dramatic pause here from Michael that I think is so telling. Like, the pause that he takes after Way's question and the look that he has is just like, it's he himself realizes how fucking absurd it is, and yet this is the situation we're in. Check this out. We're playing it again.
That Leon would be pulled. Who it was that actually informed you?
The internet.
Oh,
is that
so
right?
There was no heads up.
Dave Meltzer.
Way goes, is that right? He goes, is that right? It's comedy. Like, it's just like, it's absurdist comedy. That's all there is to it. It's a fucking Samuel Beckett play.
Internet.
Oh,
is that
so
right?
There was no heads up.
Dave Meltzer originally reached out saying, "Hey, I heard that this match might be pulled. Do you have any ideas about what's happening?"
Can you fucking imagine? Dave Meltzer, like, you're going along, you're doing your thing, then Dave Meltzer texts you. It's like, "Hey, I heard your match is being pulled." And he's like, "What? What are you talking about, Dave? What are you fucking talking about, Dave?"
And I did not at that time, honestly. And then circling back, I asked Ricochet and Leon's agent to follow up. He talked to Mr. Silva, confirmed that was the plan.
Very good of him to be calling him Mr. Silva. Look, we're all made of different fiber, right? Each and every one of us. I would not, after this kind of thing, I would not be in an interview on air calling him Mr. Silva. It would be flat out be Carlos. And I called Carlos back. The time for pleasantries would be over. Hey, Motown Slim, nice to see you, brother. Welcome. It's nice to see you. Always a pleasure. Member of the channel on top of that.
Agent to follow up. He talked to Mr. Silva, confirmed that was the plan. Then I started talking to Brian Myers because I knew Brian was going to be in a similar situation.
Just to clarify, Brian Myers, co-owner of Creative Pro and what's the Wrestle Pro, right? Creative Pro, Wrestle Pro. So, he was like, he called Brian because he was like, "Hey, did TNA pull Nick Nemeth from your match in a couple of weeks?" did that hit the? Did you get hit up by Carlos? Oh, excuse me, Mr. Silva. Yeah. So that's why we're talking about Brian Myers here, just for extra context.
With his match with Nick and MJF, and and then at that time he had no clue this was coming down the pipeline.
And Brian Myers is an employee of Carlos Silva. He works for fucking TNA.
And of course, about 24 hours later, he got the information as well.
So there was no official communication with TNA about this decision?
The first communication I got directly from TNA was about 2 hours before their pay-per-view this past Saturday. Mr. Silva sent me a text saying he'd like to communicate.
So 2 hours before fucking, what was it? Slammiversary. No, what was it? Rebellion. 2 hours before Rebellion, Carlos sends a text over to Bakikio telling him, Michael Bakikio, to tell him, "Hey, do you think we could talk?"
But that was after we had changed the match, replaced the match.
Okay.
Wow.
So that was after everything was set for the match. Everything was all placed.
Okay.
And have you had
I
any?
still haven't spoken to him. I told him, sure, call me anytime. Yeah, I responded. I said, yeah, call me anytime you have time to talk. And I have not heard from him again. So,
folks, let's be real here. Carlos Silva, that fucking geek, that fucking spineless worm, didn't even have the guts. And this was recorded what? On Wednesday, I believe, this interview? Tuesday, Wednesday, this week? Like miles after the announcement that the match was done and replaced and everything. He had, even at this stage here, Carlos the Worm Silva didn't have the guts to speak directly to the promoter he fucked over. He told him before the pay-per-view on Saturday, we need to talk, and then zero communication, complete and utter silence. Michael Bakicchio finds out on the internet. He has Dave Meltzer call him and say, hey, what's this I hear about your match getting pulled? He finds out on the internet that the match is fucking pulled. And the fucking owner of the company, the fucking owner of TNA, has got the fucking balls to reach out to him and just talk it out, try to make it better, or at the very fucking least, apologize.
And how do you read the statement that TNA put out about partner conflict? Certainly, it doesn't take a whole lot to deduce. Many suspecting this is ultimately a WWE decision. I mean, was that made clear to you in any way, or are you just going off the statement that TNA put out?
Again, for context, we all know what we're talking about, right? That TNA put out, like John said, they put out a statement after the match was pulled saying, due to partner conflicts, we have to make this decision. And like John said, then everyone sort of deduced, was like, oh, wait, this is WWE stepping in and telling TNA you got to pull the match. So then everyone was like, well, fuck WWE, flexing its muscle around this, right? And just being a bully and pushing people around because it's AEW. Then everyone goes, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Oh, these motherfuckers, right? Everyone, even myself, when this happened, I didn't apologize. I didn't try to make any apologies for what Carlos did. Because what Carlos did was craven. It's worm behavior. It's spineless. It's gutless. Because regardless, you had already entered this situation, like this working arrangement with a smaller promotion than you. This is absolute junk for him to do. He didn't have to bend the knee, but he did, just like he did with WWE, who told him, no, sorry, Leon Slater cannot be on the very first show that you're putting on AMC. We need him for an appearance in the UK. And he said, yes, here, take one of my only exciting young stars and use him your way. It's fine, Mr. and Mr. WWE, sir. What else can I, so he's still, even before we learn what we're about to learn, I was still appalled at Carlos's behavior. Still thought he was a worm, but it gets worse.
The statement they put out is the only communication I had. I don't believe. Here's
the statement they put out was the only communication I had with them. Guys, this is insane.
My theory. I don't believe WWE really, with all the stuff that they have going on. Do you really think Ricochet, Leon Slater was on their radar? Do you really think so?
He makes a good point.
Do you think that's what they? Do you think that's what their mental capacity is in the biggest week of their year? They're worrying about that match.
He makes a good point. He makes a good point.
I guess the question would be, if this was ultimately TNA's decision, why did they agree to it at the beginning to begin with?
I personally, if you're asking me, I think Carlos got upset that AEW ran on a Thursday, hurt their ratings on that particular Thursday when they went head to head, and then everything changed for him.
He makes a good point. I mean, it is very likely, very, very likely, the most plausible reason for this to have happened, right, chat? I mean, there's no other possibility here, you know, other than truly WWE throwing their weight in. But, you know, but Kikio is putting this in perspective and saying, hey, do you think they give a fuck about my little WrestleMania Day match with two wrestlers that do not concern them? Do you think that bothers them? He's not wrong. It's WrestleMania week. I would agree that they have a little more on their mind than this little indie match, that'll attract a couple of hundred people to see. I'm pretty sure they've got other fish to fry, and much bigger on top of that. His theory is quite simple. He's like, okay, no, I think it's Carlos that just got his fifis hurt and decided to pull a power play when there was no reason to do so, when he wasn't harming the other company, when he ended up harming this guy here, this promoter, WrestleCon. How does pulling Leon Slater from this match end up hurting AEW in any possible way? It doesn't hurt AEW. It helps the little guy. It hurts the indie promotion. Point and simple. That's all. But Carlos, well, not only is he a worm, but he's a doofus. Like, he's not from the wrestling world. This guy, don't forget, this guy was an Anthem executive who was handed this. And now he's rubbing his hands together because now he has a chance to show up on television and hobnob with all these famous pro wrestlers while hoping to get a job for TKO really shortly, as soon as possible. Please, thank you. So he's going to keep making sure that he stays all right with all of this. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's self-preservation. That's all he's doing. He's only looking out for his own interests here. He doesn't want to get a call from Nick Khan once WrestleMania is over saying, hey, what's this about Leon Slater and Ricochet, you know? It's so fucking crappy. It is so crappy. I said play.
That's my opinion. Listen, Carlos, I understand he has partners he has to answer to, and maybe WWE has more involvement than we ever thought.
Which is possible.
But Carlos could also say to WWE, guys, listen, I gave my word on this particular match. And, you know.
I don't know who. I don't know. Okay, so there's a very fair chance that there's someone producing this for post as they're doing this, right? But I know it's not John. It's not John, like handling the StreamYard thing. It's not John. It might be Way. It could be Way also handling the layouts and whatnot, and then putting up a fucking picture of Carlos Silva in his costume FBI agent gear with his off-brand TNA cap. This motherfucker. I don't know. It just struck me as infinitely funny when they pull. I mean, it's not the best picture. It's not the worst, There's some worse pictures of Carlos out there. But you want to convey the fact that this guy's a geek. There you go.
I'd like to be able to follow through on this particular match, and I'd like to be able to follow through with my word, because this wasn't they did the match and then I found out about it. This was, I gave clearance on this match.
Yeah.
I knew Leon was going to be made a special performer as a result of this match. Listen, say what you will about Ricochet. If Ricochet is motivated and he wants to work with you, you're going to have an unbelievable match.
Okay, so just a couple of things here. See, like he said, about Ricochet is absolutely right. But the issue here, and this has been the issue from the get-go, because the number of people that I've seen say, card subject to change, this is not the point here. Card subject to change because someone gets injured, someone can't make the flight in, someone, personal issues, or they get pulled from the card for, they can get pulled from the card for whatever reasons, right? The thing that makes this that makes this awful is that Bakikio is putting this together, got this approved from both TNA and AEW, all the way to the finish. It's all booked, it's signed, it's sealed. It's the biggest match on his card. It's one of the biggest matches of WrestleMania week. He puts that out there, he starts promoting it, and then this fucking worm decides that, no, it's not going to happen because AEW ran on a Thursday opposed to me. Hey, by the way, how many times in the past has Collision ran on a Thursday night? This isn't a new thing. Now, maybe Carlos is puffing his chest because now he's a big basic cable guy, him too. He's got his basic cable channel deal, him too. So he's got to thump his chest and go, rah, I don't like it when people come take my ratings. And they did lose about 50,000, from total viewership, if I remember correctly. It was something to that effect. The day they went after Collision, the day Collision went head to head with them, like today as well, right? So it's like, I don't care if he's upset. He should be upset, but I don't give a shit. I don't care if he's upset. And I'm sure Tony Khan doesn't care that he's upset either. And frankly, Michael Bakikio is the guy who is least concerned about whether TNA and AEW are going at it fairly head to head on Thursday nights or not. He just wants to put on a wrestling show with wrestling talent that could bring in some extra money for his setup for his organization and have a proper tribute to his old friend Mark Hitchcock. God damn it. So Carlos going back on his word, voiding everything that was already that was already achieved, is bullshit. And then on top of that, he did nothing to try and fix it, which is something. If he had done anything to try and rectify the situation, send over other talent, whatever, right? This would all go much more smoothly. We would not be talking about this again this week on stream. We wouldn't have to. But Carlos he's new to the wrestling business. He just got a fucking crash course as to how wrestling politics work. He pulled the WWE. He thought that he had the gumption, that he had the standing to just throw his weight around willy-nilly. To hell with the consequences. He thought he had that, but he doesn't. He is not WWE. He's Carlos the Worm Silva. He is the owner of the by far third promotion in the United States, and a far third, so far removed third, not even in the same league as number 2. We'd have to create an extra number between 2 and 3 to fully demonstrate just how far third he is.
It's just how it goes down. Ricochet is that good. If Ricochet decides he wants to make Leon Slater during that match, Leon Slater is getting made in that match. So,
yeah, I think,
and I agree, and that was the plan. Now, this is also a choice from Leon Slater in the sense that not perform, but to, get involved with the wider WWE tentacles, right? Web, maybe. This is also on him, right? Of course, he probably never thought that this type of situation would happen. He's not like saying, oh, well, I'll be banned from, not banned, but they're going to keep me from wrestling ever. He probably never thought of that, especially since it's TNA. He was probably like, yeah, I can work dates. And this was even probably part of his contract. Can I still work indie dates? And it's probably yes. The answer was probably yes. Why would TNA prevent any of their wrestlers to go work extra indie dates when they're barely getting paid in the first place? And they get signed for 4-month contracts, 6-month contracts. They are in no position to prevent their wrestlers to go work indie dates. TNA has Carlos Silva has a really high opinion of what of TNA's place in the ecosystem. Has a very interesting view on that.
Everyone would have looked at that like, listen, if this is your new policy, fair enough. But this match was announced. People were excited for it. People bought tickets for it. Let the match that we agreed to go through. And then after WrestleMania, this is the new policy in place. And everyone is on the same page.
That's extremely reasonable. Extremely reasonable.
And how would you argue with that if you're one of the partners?
You wouldn't, but I'm sure, Michael, you have dealt with many of these headaches along the ways. We're trying to get into the heads of some of these companies. It's not always fan first when it comes to.
And a lot of people think because what we do, kind of like jumps on the back of WWE's big weekend. WWE, for the length of how long I've been running WrestleCon, has been nothing but supportive of what we've done. They've never done a single thing that I can think of that you would say, hey, they're trying to make my job harder.
I understand what he's saying, but then again, like WWE doesn't get involved on the indies, aside from a couple of very specific events like Bloodsport, But outside of that, WWE just doesn't get involved. They just stay away from like he said earlier. This is their biggest year. Their biggest week of the year. It's the biggest show of the year for them. They've got so much bigger fish to fry than to follow what's going on at the bizarre, the bizarre bar in Vegas or the Swan Dive. I know it's not the Swan Dive anymore. I think that's the same venue now. I think it's the same venue. The Horseshoe. No one gives a shit. Like WWE doesn't give a shit of what's happening in these small venues. They don't care. That's why they don't get involved. But then again, since they don't get involved, then they don't interfere. So there's just, there's no issues here.
I realize that if I wasn't in the position that I'm in, someone else probably would fill that gap. And I'm very mindful, respectful of their intellectual property. Whenever I see things like that, I deal with it for them. I'm very appreciative of what they do this weekend, especially not only to WWE fans, but just wrestling fans in general. And I understand what part I play in it.
I find it very interesting that he sort of ends his comment saying, I understand what part I play in this. This is 100% a shot, right, chat? This is 100% a shot at Carlos the Worm Silva. 100%.
When it comes to how it affected you over this last year, going from the New Orleans location back.
Then we continue on to talking about the location, moving from New Orleans to Las Vegas and so on and so forth. What we wanted to talk about is all wrapped up. What we wanted to cover, everything regarding the TNA situation, it's all pretty much done. I highly suggest you listen to the rest of the interview. It's not very long. It's like 15 minutes. 15:41. Not a long interview, but very, very interesting. If you want to learn a little more about what it means to run an independent wrestling show in the United States in 2026, what Michael talks about when it comes to moving venues and cities, you get a really good grasp at how it's not all that simple. It seems simple for the big guys, but for the smaller guys, it's not that easy. And it helps put in perspective a lot more what kind of the level of dog shit that decision that Carlos Silva did to pull talent off the show. Go watch it. In fact, do me a favor, head on over to the Post Wrestling channel, Post Wrestling YouTube channel, I mean, and let's give it an old like there. Let's give it an old like. It was very interesting, and I always appreciate the work that John and Wade do, and Brandon over there as well. They're so important to wrestling media. It is crazy. So be sure to give them a like. Be sure to watch the rest of the interview as well. It's very, very interesting. Be sure to write thought pieces on it too. Please spread the word. But anyway, so hopefully, I'm assuming, I should say, this is the last time we're going to be talking about this, because I feel like it's all wrapped up now. I don't know what else could come out of this. And Carlos Silva comes out looking like a complete and utter buffoon, a villain in this story. He, like I said, he acted out of complete incomprehension of wrestling politics, but it's not as if he doesn't have people around him that couldn't have counseled him into certain decisions, right? Could have talked him, made him understand how certain things go, right? It's not as if he isn't surrounded by two guys in his creative committee that total must have 40 years experience in the business. So this all could have been avoided. He just wanted to come across as a big shot, want to be a big guy. And then what happens? Well, this is what happens. And then Forbidden Door gets announced on the same day as your anniversary show, Slammiversary. So what do you want from me? That being said, just before we go to the chat comments on all of this, that being said, I want to make one thing clear, okay? I think it's shitty. That AEW is running a pay-per-view, announces that it's running a pay-per-view on the same date as Slammiversary that has already been announced. I think it's shitty. I think I would think it was shitty if WWE did it to AEW or whoever else. It's not going to change how I feel. I still think it's shitty. But the question is, the main difference here as to whether or not we should get angry or not is the following. Once is not a pattern. The minute it becomes a pattern, if we start seeing that AEW is, for some reason, starts counter-programming pay-per-views with pay-per-views, then we can sort of take a step back at some point and go, okay, this is actually kind of shitty. They're using WWE-style tactics to stomp them out. This isn't great. This could absolutely be an oversight. This could 100% be an oversight. And I'm not trying to make excuses. Like, it could be. It very well could be. Just like something we're like, well, we didn't know, we didn't check. I'd say you should check. You should, but, clerical errors happen. And I'm not going to crucify AEW like I would WWE for this one time. Because WWE has a systematic pattern that goes over decades of this kind of behavior. The pattern is more than there. It's systemic. It's within the body of the corporation to do this type of shit. How many times did they do it to AEW just last year? It's not a pattern yet. But once it's a pattern, trust me, if this starts happening more often than not, trust me, I am going to bury this just as hard as I would WWE doing this to AEW. And I don't give a shit if I don't like TNA and I think Carlos Silva's a worm. It's not right. That's not cool. It's dirty. It's dirty tactics. All right. Warren TNA Wrestling officially announced the 2026 Slammiversary pay-per-view on April 9, 2026. AEW would have had the wheels in motion well before. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a one-time thing. I don't care enough. Like, it's not that big a deal. And also, you can change venues and whatnot. Look, the point is that it happened. It's a one-time thing. What do you want from me? It's still a shitty thing. It's shitty. If it's a coincidence, it's a coincidence. Like I said, I'm not, I don't care what the timeline is. This is the situation that's happening. If it becomes a pattern, well, then we'll start getting a little more concerned. That's all. Just as simple as that. Do you think Carlos Silva knows about lids? They'll embroider any logo into a hat right there in the store. Well, what do you think they did with this hat, brother? Where do you think he got this hat? I know it doesn't, or is it just screen printed? Is it just screen printed? I feel like he has one that's embroidered. I feel like he has one of these fucking hats embroidered, right? Doesn't he? I'm pretty sure he does. Hang on, I'm going to make sure. I feel like I saw one. Because that one, I agree. That one looks screen printed. I'm looking for a good enough picture here. See, look, what about this one here? No. See, look at this picture here. I mean, it could be artifacts from the compression, but don't you find that looks embroidered, like the R, I mean, again, it could be the compression, but it looks embroidered, right? I think just the other one, he's already been to lids to make this, to do this hat. He's already done it. There you go. Hey, Kristen, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, darling. It is so nice to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You want one of those hats? Brother, you can do it yourself. It's a DIY project. you just go to lids and, write things down in Arial. That's all you got to do. Yes, Kristen knows me very well. How you doing, Boris? Welcome to the chat. Let's zoom into our boy Carlos here. In the year of our Lord 2026, Dave Meltzer is more useful and better at communicating info than TNA management. I'm dying. And he didn't even have to use his juno.com address. Was it juno.net? Was it juno.net? He probably still has that email address, right? He's still, from what I hear, like he's still running WordPerfect with all the macros. WordPerfect, or no, like an old version of Word with all the macros set up. Maybe not WordPerfect. That'd be crazy. You should have just booked Leon Slater versus Prince Puma. There you go. Would have never known. Would have never known. I wonder if the match would have happened if Michael Bokikio never reached out to Carlos Silva. If Carlos had never been, if we had never cleared it through Carlos, you think Carlos would have caught wind of it? All of these big WrestleMania events, WrestleMania week events. Silver Apocalypse, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Also, member of the title. Well, you are a title holder because you're a member of the channel. There you go. AJ Francis and Moose spoke up for TNA. Two of the guys making bank from TNA. Well, I mean, I don't have an issue with that. Nick Nemeth did as well. I mean, are we surprised? I mean, and here's the other thing is that I know backstage at TNA, there's been some grumblings over this event because there's a lot of people who are like, there's a lot of people who didn't like it that Carlos did this because now they're like, he can pull our bookings at any given moment. And a lot of us take extra bookings because this company doesn't pay us enough. So now he's going to go around taking money from us. Because this is another thing that old Carlos doesn't understand when he comes to keeping his wrestlers from taking bookings. He's not giving them WWE level salaries. And WWE basically tells them, look, we're going to give you a guaranteed contract the entire year, but you're not going to go work any fucking where else without our express written consent to our very special designated places. And they have the power to do it because they're like, we're giving you a substantial salary to do that. And then you sign and you go, oh yeah, sure. But if you're signing a contract for, and I'm just throwing a number out here. I'm not saying that this is a TNA contract amount. Let's say you sign a contract for $30,000 for the year. Yeah, $30,000. Well, hell yeah, I'm going to take bookings. And yeah. So if Carlos comes down, puts his fist down, and is like, you can't take outside bookings anymore. You're going to be, fuck you, Carlos. Take your $30K and shove it. But anyway, the point is that I'm not surprised that the TNA talent are speaking up. I know there are TNA talent backstage that are very upset about this as well. I'm feeling conflicted about this if and only if this was found out to be Leon's audition match with AEW and I was Carlos, if I were Carlos, I'd probably shut it down. I mean, that's the risk they all run. Maybe Carlos got cold feet for that and he's like, wait a second, I don't want people in AEW to see my guy. As if we haven't already seen him. He's such a dunce anyway. He's such a dunce. At Revolution, I sat next to someone cosplaying Tony Khan. I wonder if anyone cosplays Carlos at TNA shows. Maybe I should do Carlos Silva as my Halloween costume this year. And then you could, and you do the LOL TNA instead of just TNA. Look, it's making a lot of sense to me right now doing that. Anyway, like I don't usually do Halloween costumes because I don't do Halloween parties anymore and stuff like that. Maybe I do it for stream this year. Get a little phony FBI agent jacket, get the hat. Hope everyone's having a lovely time. Leave a like on the stream if you haven't already. Thank you for being here, folks. It's a very busy night in the world of professional wrestling. Between Collision and TNA and all the goings on there. in the independent scene over there in the Las Vegas. There's a lot going on. Thankfully, the Las Vegas shows, well, at least, the bigger ones, they're all on delay here for all of us here on the East Coast. On delay. I mean, meaning they'll be like 3 hours later. That's a positive, so no one's Xing out to go watch Bloodsport. Isn't Bloodsport tonight? I'm not even interested in Bloodsport. I don't even know when the last time I was interested in Bloodsport. I can't even remember the last time I was like, and we're probably talking maybe like Bloodsport 4, 5, something like that. Those are probably the last Bloodsports that I was into. And after that, it all sort of became the same thing. And now it's just a dumping ground for the WWE C team to give them something to do. And it's always the same people. It's always the same people on Barnett's shows now. You're like, okay. It's not as interesting or as fresh a concept as it once was. JCW is what I wanted TNA to be, so I have no need for TNA now. Enjoy the Juggalos. I think you're required to watch JCW with a Juggalo Championship Wrestling with a 2-liter of Faygo, though. I think that's required by law. All right. What are we talking about? Okay, so so it's WrestleMania this weekend. As I said at the top of the stream, I'm not previewing it. We're not covering the activity. We're not covering the matches. We're not covering the shows. I'm not reviewing WrestleMania either. It might be a good time to remind everyone that I stopped watching WWE altogether. I think it's 2 years ago at this point, for a multitude of reasons. And stuff that just pushed me over the edge. And everyone, I had my breaking point. A lot of people still haven't. A lot of people will never will have. That's all right. But as someone looking in from outside, right, especially over the past couple of years, ever since Vince was removed from power, even if it was unofficial for a while, there was always a palpable excitement around WrestleMania. There was always stuff around WrestleMania that would get back to you, that you'd be able to see and feel and measure the excitement of a WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania, what was it? 39? Was that the one, the first one with Cody? No, that would have been 38, right? WrestleMania. I'm sure someone will correct me in the chat. The first WrestleMania with Cody, I mean, everyone was just bursting at the seams with excitement. Excitement for the following one, where they did the rematch with Roman, where he finished the story. There was palpable, very, very obvious and widespread excitement and hype for WrestleMania. I would argue that I felt it a little less last year. And this year, I have to look, I'm not feeling any hype at all. I'm not feeling any excitement. I'm not getting anyone anywhere outside of people saying, oh, Brock versus Obafemi, that should be fun. Outside of that, I've got nothing. There's no, I feel like I'm not being overrun by people getting excited. I don't see it. I don't feel it. And I could in the past. And I feel like, as someone who is removed from the week-to-week programming of WWE, I feel like I'm in a good spot to be a good judge as to whether or not there's excitement or hype for WWE. Because if I can feel it while I am not in those circles, then I think that means it's palpable. I think probably WWE fans, I think those are probably the only ones that are excited. And that's okay, because it's still a substantial fan base that are ready to put 40,000 people per night for 2 nights in a stadium to watch this show. So I'm okay. So I'm okay. I think I'm a good gauge, basically, for hype. And I don't feel any this year. I don't feel anything. And in fact, as I'm watching things go on, as I'm watching this build to WrestleMania happen from all the way over here on my perch, I think the assessment I have to make here is that this is the most sad boy WrestleMania build I have ever seen. I feel like everyone involved is sad, upset. I don't, it doesn't feel like anyone is excited about WrestleMania, not even the people involved in WrestleMania. Roman Reigns and CM Punk have all been arguing about how old they are, and that one guy's father is dead. And CM Punk this week, I think it was this week, even apologized to Roman for saying nasty things. And what is going on? Their whole thing comes across as group therapy. And then on the other side, well, look, we don't have to break down what's going on the SmackDown side. I think everyone who is a wrestling fan knows exactly what's happening with the Pat McAfee stuff. That's just, I haven't met anyone who I consider to be a serious adult who has looked at the Pat McAfee stuff and said, yep, this is good stuff. They did Cody versus, even before the Pat McAfee stuff, they decided that their main event of night 2 of WrestleMania was going to be Cody versus Randy Orton. And then when the fans failed to get excited about it, Ari Emanuel injected Pat McAfee into it, disrupting everything that was going on. Not that there was much to disrupt in the first place, but you could feel like this didn't have its own spot. One of these things just didn't belong here. And suddenly it's all about Pat McAfee. It's all about Pat McAfee calling out fucking CM Punk, who's on the other brand and he's not even feuding with, and now CM Punk calls him out. And they don't even have a match at WrestleMania. And now it feels like it's all about Cody and Pat, and Cody is fighting Randy Orton. This has been a disaster. And all they talk about then on both sides are ticket prices. How everything is more expensive. You have to bring down the ticket prices, RE. And then the heel comes out to say tickets are 25% off. It's the heel who's coming out to say the company is forced to sell your tickets cheaper. Mwahaha! The heel. You'd think this was a babyface move, but no. In WWE's eyes, going out to say, hey, the tickets to our show are cheaper is a heel move. And then they're going around doing their media, and none of it is effervescent. None of it has that little spark, that was so cool and special. They had Jey Uso try to get into try to work a fight with a podcaster. And of course, Jey Uso fucking sucks, so he flubs it. The guy is trying real hard, but Jey Uso is trying to act too much instead of just letting things happen naturally. So it all comes across as contrived and cringe. Oh, it was funny because the host said to his producer, brother, you keep sending the Saturday night geeks. Where are all the people from the Sunday night? Like, even the host knows that the real big WrestleMania night is the Sunday. Everyone knows it's the second night. It's not the first night. I was crying. It was so funny. But they don't even have that spark. You've got Triple H, who does an hour-long or close to hour-long sit-down interview with Joe Tessitore. Is that how you pronounce it, Joe? Or do you have to do the little Italian inflection on it? Joe Tessitore. No, probably not, right? It's Joe Tessitore, right? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. What do you want from me? So he's sitting. Pedro the Fifth, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat, brother. Paul Levesque is sitting in a closed environment with a guy who is on the payroll, whose job here is to lob softball. No, not even lob. Not even toss. Hand. Yeah, like hand deliver softballs to Paul Levesque so that he can put over how great he is and how great the show is going to be, the show being WrestleMania. And Paul is just the saddest motherfucker, just sitting there, answering the questions with a vacant look in his eye, staring off into nothingness, his brain spinning to put words together, just like he was told to do in his media training, except he's terrible at it. He's a big dum-dum, so he's not able to formulate on the spot thoughts outside of his talking points. And he didn't do any research. He didn't prepare. He never prepares. Why? Because he's Paul Levesque, and Paul Levesque thinks he's so smart. He thinks he's so much smarter than everyone. He thinks he's the cerebral assassin after all. He's not just a big old roided up meathead. No. How dare you? He is the cerebral assassin. How could he have become in charge of creative of the biggest wrestling company in the land if he wasn't a smart guy, TM? And yet, he's sitting there, stringing words together in barely comprehensible sentences, and burying himself, and his talent, and his developmental system, and so much more. I got to read this quote for you, folks. Big shout out to the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. When Levesque was asked about, again, a nice little softball question that shouldn't lead to anything controversial. And yet, this is the answer he gives when asked whether there have been surprises on the road to WrestleMania. Not surprises is the word Tessitore used. Tessitore. Joe, lead commentator of Raw, was asked, and Levesque says, feels that injuries in WWE have an even greater impact than they do in other sports where there is always a backup to take over. And this is what he had to say. I don't know if you guys and gals and non-binary pals saw this. I played the video, but WWE is going to strike me. So we're doing the quotes here. But I've got stuff from Cody lined up. You just wait here, pal. So here's Paul's Levesque. Here is Paul Levesque's answer to that question. Oh, there's a lot of them, the surprises. Because sometimes, wait a second. What are we doing here? We're talking Paul Levesque here?
It's time to play the game.
What was I thinking about?
Time to play the game.
Now we can do the quote properly. Oh, there's a lot of them, surprises. Because sometimes it's surprises of the way that you think a crowd is going to react to something and they react different. Sometimes it's when you're putting stuff together in your mind. Dusty Rhodes used to say this all the time to me. In your mind, you see things 100%. If you can get 70% of that to come out on the screen, that's a grand slam. In your mind, you picture it perfect. In execution, it's different. There's a million variables that can change it, that bring it down a notch or 2 or 3 or 20, whatever it is, right? Okay. So things turn out differently. Fans begin to react to things differently. What you thought you had locked in for what you thought you had locked in 4 months ago is not the path anymore. The path has changed. Oh, so running creative for a wrestling company. Okay, thank you for spelling that out for us, Paul. The other thing about our business, and here's the kicker here, folks. The other thing about our business is, unlike a sport, and as bad as it is, if you lose your quarterback, if you lose your first string offensive lineman, if you lose your star center or star guard in the NBA, you have a second string guy to back them up. And you hope that those second string guys are pretty good. There is no backup Cody Rhodes. There is no backup Randy Orton. There's no backup Roman Reigns. There's no backup CM Punk. It's different because it's the individual attraction. Now, I'm gonna tell, like, straight up, I understand what he's trying to say here. I'm not gonna pretend to be completely ignorant to what our boy Paul here is trying to express. And what he is trying to express is, our guys are so important. Like, these are like the top notch guys. They're so high up the ladder that they're irreplaceable. You can't just have someone else slot them in. They're irreplaceable players. I understand that's what he means. But the way he says it doesn't make it come across like that at all. In fact, what it makes it sound is that we have no one else. That's the thing. It makes it sound like he's saying we got no one else to come and take these spots if someone were to get injured. Yeah, and the other names that I mentioned here, Seth Rollins, Rey Mysterio, no big deal. These guys are replaceable, but not these four here. But that's what it makes it sound like. It makes it sound like if I lose these four guys, we're fucked. And I know that's not what he's saying, but that's how it comes across as. Why? Because he's a dummy. And he should do his media training more. He should take a few more classes because he's not sounding smart here. It sounds like he's saying, I don't have any stars ready. I have no one else outside these four guys that can come up and substitute and take their place because I haven't prepared anyone, because I am unable to make stars, because our entire developmental system that we spend, that we shovel millions upon millions of dollars annually into is unable to produce people to come and step up if the top guys get hurt or get knocked out. That's what this statement sounds like. It sounds like an indictment of his creative, and it sounds like an indictment of their developmental system. And it's all wording. And maybe this is what he is trying to say. And if it is what he's trying to say, he's a bigger dummy than I thought. Because you don't go saying these things. You don't go out there saying these things, Paul. But he's the cerebral assassin, don't you worry. But you see what I mean, chat? You get what I mean, right? It's a terrible quote. It's a terrible quote. But that wasn't even like the most spectacularly bad one. Like, There's another quote from that same interview, okay? I'm going to read it off to you here because it wasn't covered in any of the sheets here, but I went and copied it. And again, Joe Tessitore hand delivers, on a nice little pillow with a mint, delivers this softball question. With that in mind, how much pressure, it doesn't matter, the whole context. I didn't put the whole context in because it was very wordy. It didn't matter. But the question is, how much pressure do you put on yourself that WrestleMania is your own report card, that you can sense it that way? This is what our boy Paul Levesque had to say. Tons. It's a funny thing when people will say, like, if you're online or you hear fans talking and they're like, I don't like that. Yeah, I know. Believe me, I'm the first guy going, that didn't work. That wasn't good. We screwed up there. Pause. We're doing improv games now. Stop. Paul is essentially saying here, he's essentially contradicting himself. Again, when it comes to him being so much holier than thou and saying, oh, we don't pay attention to what goes on in the internet, right? We've all heard Paul say that umpteen times over. We don't read Twitter. We don't participate online. We don't do things like that. And then what does he do here in this fucking interview? Oh, when you see people online, you hear fans saying, I don't like that. Which is it, Paul? Like, I don't give a shit whether you are online or not, Paul Levesque. Just pick a lane. You can, if you want to come across as the guy who's above it all and just look down on all of the little Twitter users and whatnot and the Reddit users, go right ahead, but you can't have it both ways. Then you can't turn around and say, oh, we read the stuff online while you're pretending to be, oh, I'm so above it all. Fuck you. You can't have it both ways. Let's continue. Sometimes we're putting things out there. You're like, this will be decent. And he does the This is not going to be A++. It has to ebb and flow throughout the year. There's times when like, this show will be good. It's not going to be guns blazing. There's time you got to put your foot on the gas. The trick is keeping... Oh, wait, before I get to that question. Pause. Not that question, but that part of the answer. Because the last part is... So again, I hope we all realize here that our boy Paul Levesque is like, sometimes I do things and I know it's not good. And then the fans tell me, and I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I know that wasn't good. And even before he's told by the fans, he's like, sometimes you're going to put things out there, you're like, this will be decent. How can you be sitting there? How can you be sitting in a chair days before your biggest show of the year, where you are selling tickets, where you are asking your fans to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to buy tickets to see this fucking show, and you've got the guts to sit there and say, sometimes it just happens and it's not very good. I'm baffled, chat. And it's not as if Tessitore drew that answer out of him. It's not as if he was pressing him. And he's like, sometimes, it's not very good. Days before, you're trying to convince people you're doing 25% ticket rebates to try and get more people in the building because they're not coming for multiple reasons. For whatever reason, they're not coming in. Maybe one of the reasons is because the director of creative for the company, the head of creative, is out there saying, hey, you know what? Sometimes we create things that aren't very good. And I can't guarantee that it's going to be good. It's an insane quote. I have never heard Vince McMahon in any interview look upon himself and say, yeah, sometimes, pal, what we do is a little above average. I have never heard that. Vince would never do this. This is not like some tell-all interview that you're doing for your fucking autobiography. This is an interview you're supposed to be saying to get your audience hyped. Your last-ditch pitch, your hard sell to get people in the building. And you're like, yeah, sometimes I go to work and I got an idea, but it kind of goes sideways and, it's not very good sometimes. And this is the guy then who will sit down and say, we've got the best creative minds in the world sitting around the table, and I work 8 hours a day on creative every day, and we've got meetings. And I am completely baffled by this man's statement here. Based on everything else he said, I can't take him seriously. I barely could to begin with. Now I can't. He just says whatever the fuck. And I think, you know what I think, chat? You know what I think in my heart of hearts? Purely speculative, no information. I feel in my heart of hearts that he's very sad. I think he's very, very sad about how things are going. And he has a lot of difficulty hiding it. I think Paul Levesque is afraid for his job. I think he knows he's in a very precarious position. I think he's starting to realize that all of these past WrestleManias that were supposed to be his WrestleManias, they never were. There were always outside forces, always outside interferences, whether it be Vince, whether it be The Rock, whether it be Ari Emanuel. There's always people putting their nose in to the creative of what he's doing. He knows he doesn't truly have control. The bloom, and then now the bloom has fallen off the rose because of all of these interferences, all of this bullshit in which he can't focus and create a coherent show, right? And put some proper things together if he even could. But let's go down this road, right? The bloom has fallen off the rose. All of these things that are affecting the creative negatively, he feels are all out of his hands. It's all outside forces, and what can you do about it? And now he's upset. He's upset because now no one is throwing him flowers. Now people are pissing on him, and all he wants to say is, all of this isn't my fault. That's what he wants to do, but he can't. Because he's a stooge. Because he's a manager. That's all he is. He's just a manager. He's got to do with what his bosses say. He's got no real power. How long have I been saying that Paul Levesque has no real power in this company? And we are seeing it year after year with every fucking WrestleMania. He has no real power. How many times have I told you guys that this guy is in an ejector seat? That most wrestling fans haven't figured it out because for decades, Vince McMahon was the only guy in the company. You couldn't eject Vince McMahon. He was the owner. He was the guy. You can't fire the owner. You just can't. He owned he owned all of the stock options. It was all him. You couldn't get rid of him. So everyone thinks, well, of course a booker stays on for years and years and years and years. So they think Triple H is entrenched here. But he's on they can thank him for his service, and he can then fuck off to his golden parachute and go work for the Trump administration, because that's exactly what's going to happen. I think he's fed up. I think he's sick of all of this. And he can't outright say it. The emperor indeed has no clothes. Hasn't had much for a while, but now he is completely nude. I think here's the thing. For a while, this emperor was telling everyone, no, I am not nude right now. I do have clothes, despite the fact that he was naked. He would tell the people, no, I am not nude. In fact, I am very much dressed, and people would buy it. But now people are starting to see, and they're going, wait a second, he really is naked. My mind blows every time I read what he's been saying in these interviews. It's WrestleMania season. It's the week before the biggest show of the year. And he's sitting there going, yeah, man, I don't know. Whew. And our developmental, it kind of stinks. I have no stars. What the fuck is this guy? There's one more quote. I'm going to try and read it to the best of my ability in one take, okay? Strap in, pay attention, put your thinking caps on. Here we go. This is the last quote from this same interview. As part of the answer to the same question. The trick is keeping everybody else, I think, sometimes in the same mindset of, we talked about thinking about tomorrow. It's, all the time people make suggestions of like, what if you did this and even this whole thing? And it's like, yeah, that's amazing. It just doesn't leave us a place to go. I have friends who can read ancient Sumerian who didn't understand what he was talking about. No, that's a joke. I don't have friends who know ancient Sumerian. I don't have friends. What is he even saying? What was this sentence or these sentences? What was he trying to talk about? The trick is keeping everybody else, I think, sometimes in the same mindset of, we talked about thinking about tomorrow. What is he talking about? It's, all the time people make suggestions of like, what if you did this and then even this whole thing? And it's like, yeah, that's amazing. It just doesn't leave us a place to go. What? I don't understand a fucking thing he said. I don't understand a single fucking thing. And this is the guy, this is the face of the company. This is the face of the company. This is the star of WWE, this guy. And he's going out there and he's just like blabbering word salad. And then, without really realizing it, burying the fact that he's unable to make stars, burying his company's developmental. Essentially saying his creative doesn't work, that he willfully puts out some bad stuff. Our boy, he's lost. He's lost. But if it was only him, but it's not only him. It's not only him. Cody Rhodes, earlier this week, went on the Shane Gillis podcast. And he proceeded, ladies and gentlemen, to bury the Pat McAfee storyline. Oh, you don't believe me?
Mariah Carey, I don't know him. Yeah. Response, even though I might.
What was the nature of the betrayal? What exactly happened?
So what was the nature of the betrayal here? What's the nature of the betrayal with Randy Orton and Pat McAfee? This is basically, they're setting this up here to say, please explain to us what this podcast, what this storyline is about. Rory Starks, nice to see you. Welcome.
Oh man,
what do you do?
Let's see how we could explain.
Folks, I'm not a genius. Not really. A bit of a dummy. A delightful dummy, but a dummy. I'm going to tell you one thing that I really do understand, though. Something that I'm very confident in. If someone asks you to explain a pro wrestling angle to you, to them, say, explain to me why Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes don't like each other. Or explain to me what's going on between Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley. If your first reflex is, oh, let me see how I can break this down for you, there is a problem with the angle. Folks, sorry to break it to you. We're all fans here. We're friends. Pro wrestling is not Shakespeare. It's simple to follow. That's the whole point. You're supposed to be able to just jump in, understand why two people don't like each other, and then get into the fight. It's not rocket science. You don't need a PhD to understand it. You don't need to have watched eons of pro wrestling to even get it. It's so basic. It comes from basic human storytelling instincts. No one should have to feel like explaining a pro wrestling angle is complicated. We're not off to a good start.
Randy Orton, who I'm wrestling at WrestleMania, we have almost 2 decades of history between each other. He was my mentor. I had Cena, who I drove around. I had Randy. Very different opinions, but also really helped shape me. We were on screen together as part of his group legacy. He had my dad's last match, my first match in the company against Randy. There was a lot of rich story material.
Before we go on, before we get into because he's going to address the Pat McAfee stuff. Isn't this such a wonderful story angle? Chat, like objectively, isn't this just a fantastic story? Everything he just said right there, it's the perfect feud. We've known each other for 20 years. We were friends. You were my mentor. I wrestled you in my first match in the company. You wrestled my dad's last match. Like, we've had ups and downs and differences of opinion. And it's a perfect angle. It's a perfect story for a wrestling angle. Perfect. And both those guys sitting there going, oh, okay, I see. It's so simple. It was always simple, but it had to WWE just had to WWE.
And then we inserted Pat McAfee. And that
and then we inserted Pat McAfee. Do you understand? We inserted. Do you understand what he gave the storyline reason as to why him and Randy are fighting, why this has weight to it. But Pat McAfee's like, well, we inserted it, and everyone starts chuckling. Everyone gets that. It's like, wait, this is, oh, he doesn't belong here.
We are literally in that part right there.
Yeah.
So your question is everybody else's question.
True.
And that is
So your question as to why Pat McAfee's involved is everyone else. Is everyone else's question. It's fantastic. Cody's just sitting there going, I don't know either, pal. You tell me why he's there. That's crazy. This is, look, as opposed to big dopey Paul Levesque, Cody Rhodes is a guy who understands how to speak to media. He knows how to get it done. He's more than media trained. He loves doing this shit. Like, this is his wheelhouse. He's fine. So the fact that he's going, it's like, you could get more natural. He doesn't know how to bullshit his way out of this. I know a lot of people are saying, look, we'll listen to the whole thing, but keep in mind the argument where people say, well, this is all a work. Cody likes to lie, right? Okay, that's fair, but we'll come back around to that. B-Megs, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, when Cody lays it out like that, indeed, you're like, why are we trying so hard?
Guy even doing here?
Like the troops all outside and there's that clown, right? I'm not saying he's like the clown in that regards.
We're definitely not saying that. We're definitely not saying that Pat McAfee in this example that I've started to use, calling him a clown, we're not saying he's the clown.
It's an interesting fit. And we're gonna see where it goes.
You're saying he's not a serious person?
No, I don't. I think he seems like you can't have that much success and be ground up like he is without being a serious person and having been to the Thunder.
I kind of challenge that.
Dome and
for sure.
The question is not as whether or not you can have success. Whether you can have, because I think deeply unserious people can have success, can be successful. Now, can the success be sustained? That's the question ultimately. Will Pat McAfee fizzle out, or will he be able to sustain this success that he has? Right? It's like, I don't know, Andy Milonakis. Remember him? He had a show on NTV back in the day, funny, and now today. But he had success. You couldn't say at one point, Andy Milonakis was successful at one point. He had success. Deeply unserious person. Had success. Unsustainable. That's the thing. And then he became Ice Poseidon's sidekick. Exactly.
I would say is right now what I've seen is
I'm so close to starting live streams where we just talk about streaming lore, internet lore. I'm so close. I know I have way too much useless, appalling knowledge about about streaming and internet culture that at some point I'm like,
anyone around Pat McAfee,
anyone born after 2005 was like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. Look, hey, you go with the references you got. If you don't know what I'm talking about, pull up. Just look for Andy Milonakis. Jesus Christ, he has a Wikipedia page.
His orbit. Probably someone needs to say no every now and then.
Oh yeah, no, wait. I need to replay this
of people.
I need to replay this.
You need, like we were talking about.
Man, shut up, Cody. I need to replay this because I've been pausing and saying fucking nonsense. But we do need to hear this response about the yes.
Been to the Thunderdome, and
for sure,
there's. What I would say is right now, what I've seen is everyone around Pat McAfee, his orbit. Probably someone needs to say no every now and then. That seems like a dangerous group of people to, you need, like we were talking about Bob Holly earlier, man. You need that one guy in the room to be like, I don't know, man, jumping into the WrestleMania main event. Also, while I was getting my ass kicked in the ring the other night, looking up and he's wearing shades. Like he put the shades on to go out there. It's a different era of wrestling. It was like,
so like the thing he does here, right? It's like he's got too many yes men and whatnot. And when you're listening to this, again, this is promo. This is the media tour for WrestleMania. And I hear him talking about him. To hear Cody talking about Pat McAfee going, oh, well, he's successful enough. He's just surrounded by a lot of yes men. He needs some people to tell him no sometimes. I'm like, how does this serve the story? How does this serve this tale that they're weaving, over the past couple of Friday night SmackDowns? How is this putting butts in seats for WrestleMania? How many people are taking advantage of the 25% off thanks to Cody saying, yeah, you're right. He's surrounded by goofballs who only say yes and never say no to him. How does that help? And the idea, of course, that you hear is, he's doing a work shoot. Yes. The work shoot, that invaluable resource in pro wrestling that has proven to be successful time and time again. How the millions of dollars that have poured in to professional wrestling thanks to work shoot angles, always successful. Ah, yes. I've had people tell that to me. I was like, well, he's doing a work shoot war. And I'm like, okay, that makes it worse. It's not helping. If work shoots were so successful, people, Vince Russo would have a job with a major American company right now if they were successful. The only guy who has ever benefited from a work shoot angle is Brian Pillman. It's the only guy who has ever benefited from one, and that's because he used his work shoot. He fooled Eric Bischoff to the point of allowing him out of his contract so he could go sign with WWE. That is magic. But again, didn't draw a dime for either company, but did a lot of good for Brian Pillman. That's the thing. So even Cody, the point that I'm making here, even Cody in his media rounds, the guy that is perfect for media appearances, legitimately, and I'm not trying to be ironic, Cody is excellent in these situations. He can't even muster up enthusiasm for this. He can't tell Shane Gillis here, you know, Pat McAfee, he'd been calling Randy Orton. He got in his ear, and he's come in and he's trying to mooch off Randy Orton's success. He's a mooch, just like everything he does. Like, you know, give it some storyline legs. But there's no storyline legs because it's not creative, because it wasn't come up by creative, because it was Ari Emanuel who sent him in there, who forced him onto Paul. And now they don't know what to do with him. They're all just sitting around going, so they haven't come up with any motivations. They're just like, hey, Pat, tonight you're going out to announce that it's 25% off and that WrestleMania stinks and that they shouldn't come to Sunday night. That's what they've been doing. Masterclass. It's so awful, guys. It's really bad. And then, like, because it's fascinating. I'm telling you, like, it's fascinating that Cody can't get into it, that he just can't get into it. And this is, like, the last quote I want to pull out here, where Cody basically, in an interview, addresses the fact that there's outside forces. Basically saying, Hunter's not in charge. Hunter's not in charge. Let's read this article from the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. Cody Rhodes is no stranger to outsiders getting involved in his WrestleMania feuds. The past 2 years have been evident with The Rock and Travis Scott's interference. I mean, okay, I understand what the author is saying here. Roseanne Raphael, we like her. She does good work. And I understand what Raphael is trying to say here. Evident is the key word here. The Rock and Travis Scott's involvement last year was, say it with me, evident. 2 years ago, The Rock's involvement was evident. 3 years ago, maybe Vince's interference wasn't evident, but it was still there. And maybe some Nick Khan stuff going around as well. And Ari Emanuel this year maybe isn't evident as well. Anyway, Rhodes discussed the external factors involved in his WrestleMania feud this year on the Rich Eisen show. He remarked how being a fan of his during the PLE season is challenging due to the frequent external influences affecting his matches. This is what Cody said here. You can look at this year and say, hey, here's Pat McAfee. You can look at the year before and say, here's Travis Scott. You can look at the year before and say, here's The Rock. If you're a Cody Rhodes fan during WrestleMania season, it's a choice. We deal with outside forces. We deal with, hey, they want to be part. We're about it, and I can say this, it's a spot I always wanted. If you're going to be in the big moments, you have to be ready for the big jobs. I think Cody is stretching the truth a little bit. I think he is sincere when he says, I'm okay with it because this comes with the territory of being a world champion in WWE in this day and age. I understand. But I don't think he's all that excited about how things are going. Because this is also a guy who is very cognizant of his legacy in pro wrestling. There may be some people who are just like, I'll just go in and make as much money and who cares type of thing, right? And I get, they'll remember me for my matches and that's about it. Cody is a little more. A little more. Pat being part of ESPN and WWE WrestleMania is on, Pat being a part of ESPN and WWE WrestleMania is on ESPN for the first time ever. Okay. Well, I mean, if he's talking about TV, ESPN TV, it's just one match. I guess he's talking about the streaming service. Anyway, it's actually a natural fit. Does it fit in a 20-year wrestler, student, teacher, mentor, all of that? Does it fit in there? No. Cody flat out saying, does it fit in this story where we're talking about me and Randy having this 20-year relationship, wrestler, student, teacher, mentor, all of that? Does Pat McAfee fit in here? No. But Pat sure thinks it does. And now Pat has the title, so we can tell that story another time. What? So you can tell the actually interesting, compelling story about Cody Rhodes and well, I don't know how compelling it is, but the interesting story between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, we'll tell that story another time because Pat McAfee was inserted into the main event via Ari Emanuel, who owns TKO and also happens to be, part owner of, also owner of Endeavor, if I'm not mistaken, right? That story's also already been told. Let's figure all of this out. Anyway, let's finish out this quote here. Listen, Pat McAfee, Randy Orton, that's one thing, but we're getting to this point now where you go through so much as a wrestler. I mentioned the previous WrestleManias. Maybe it's time for me to change. That's a new layer of pain for Randy Orton. He's associated with Pat. Wow. Wow, what a layer. What a change. He doesn't need that by any means, but that's what he's doing. Maybe I change. Maybe you walk that other side. Cody teasing a heel turn, which will never happen. I've been saying for so long, I don't think I can do heel stuff. After a while, it feels like it's almost expected that I'm going to lose it at some point. He's going to snap. And how does that look? Anyway. That's Cody doing Cody stuff here. But outright talking about interfering, outside forces, sticking their nose into WrestleMania stuff. Do you see what I mean? How fucking sad this WrestleMania build has been? Sad boy WrestleMania build. Everyone is just like, I don't know what's going on, man. Look, they tried it with Travis Scott. They tried it with The Rock. Now they're trying it with Pat. It is what it is. And then Triple H is over on his end going, well, I try to put cool things together, but it doesn't always work, and I know it doesn't work. Trust me, I know it doesn't work. It's insane how this company that is still going to put minimum $80,000 people total in a stadium for 2 nights for their show, because tickets are a little sluggish, because fans are a little upset. Everyone is just dejected and going. You don't have the swagger, the confidence, the cockiness that this company had for the past 3 years when WrestleMania time would come around. Big swinging dicks everywhere. Now it's muted. That's all like, We don't know what's going on. Yeah, Pat McAfee, it is what it is. It's Pat McAfee or Travis. And does Pat McAfee make sense in this story? No, he was inserted into this story. As someone told me in a group chat when I was talking about it, they wrapped it up by saying this: the vibes are immaculate. They really are. Just maybe not the vibes WWE is looking for. It feels like they're trying to fabricate a WrestleMania 40 moment where the fans rally behind Cody against TKO influence. Sure. I guess. They learned the worst lessons possible from final boss Rock getting over. But it's The Rock. See, that's the thing. And it was also very fun. And also The Rock is actually in a position of power in TKO. So Pat McAfee is so much less interesting. He's just a guy, he's just a guy on the payroll. No one's saying McAfee doesn't have a place at WrestleMania either. This just isn't a bad spot for everyone involved. I bet it's fine, but it could really be great if it's just Orton and Rhodes. I mean, I don't know if it'll be great because it's Randy Orton, but I understand your point. The point of the story, just if they had focused on the history, the animosity, just brought that, really leaned into that. But no, they had to, they had to keep us on our toes. They had to swerve us. This is actually the Pat McAfee stuff. When you compare that to Darby and his Flash win, both, you can argue, were unexpected and unforeseen events to wrestling storylines, to wrestling angles, right? Both in their separate companies. But one was done in which, and it felt earned. It felt deserved. It felt, to a degree, it felt like a perfect logical through line, right? And the other one, like Cody said, just inserted, just like, oh, here's your guy. Boop, whoop, beep. Here's the guy. Breaking news, Anthony Bowens has officially joined the Ops. I'm not even sure that's a good thing. I still maintain that if he had joined the Hurt Syndicate, his career would have, he would have had a very different career path at this point. Wrestlers doing a media appearance should be able to instantly describe the angle they are currently involved in. Correct. They shouldn't have to go, all right, how do I explain this to you? Like, that's look, I talked about it already, but that's a failure. That's a sign of failure. I love Bob Holly. As a kid, I was an old soul. I read Bob Holly's autobiography. That man is insane. That guy's crazy. Declan Windsor just had a banger. No surprise. Also, Darby will be at Dynamite on Wednesday. I made a couple of GIFs of Cody kissing the Rehad season logo on the mat. My never-ending, lasting picture of him. Kind of tells you everything you need to know. I agree. I'm dreading the day Cody decides he's coming back to AEW. Oh, that's because you don't have a podcast. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. It feels like they're trying to fabricate a WrestleMania 40 moment. Oh, I read that already. Sorry. You're not getting double. We're not double dipping here, big man dogs. Don't try to fool me. what made the final boss rock is that it was entertaining within kayfabe as a TV show, just like how Austin and McMahon or NWO got over because it was entertaining, not just the work shoot stuff. Yeah, the work shoot stuff sort of worked on another level. It worked on the smart level, you know, where we were like, wait a second, The Rock, The Rock is a member of the board of TKO. He's not gonna sit down and say, yes, Paul, thank you, Paul. Can I have another Paul? Especially since he doesn't like Paul. And Paul doesn't like him. All of this, we're like, ooh, this is spicy. Now it's just like, I mean, they're trying real hard. But you can always tell when things start getting shooty, right? We'll start talking about contracts and tickets and, you know, when things start getting work shooty, then you're like, oh, okay, now we're desperate now. Gotcha. We're desperate now. I see. Okay. Anyway, best of luck to all those involved. I am very much looking forward to Monday to see how all of this played out, to see everyone's reactions. I'm very stoked for it. Very stoked for it. So as it pertains to us right now, folks, we're going to call it a night. We're done. We're done here. We're hitting the bricks. So there you go. Thank you. I do think I did a good job. I appreciate it. See, just like on the sign, just like on the sign. Good job, Warren. Thank you for letting me. Sometimes you just need to be told that you have a good job, that you do a good job, and that you have a good job. Diarrhea. I want to thank you all very much for hopping in tonight. And look, if it's your first time here, consider a subscription. Those are always fantastic. And if you want to support the old Warren Hayes here, hit the join button and you get in return early access to most of the things that I record, like my reviews, for instance. So those are all available as soon as everything is good. I will be back. When will I be back? Monday. I will be back Monday with another live stream. We'll probably be talking about whatever interesting fallout happened from WrestleMania. I will repeat once again, I am not reviewing WrestleMania, and you know, my review will not be missed. You have thousands of choices out there. Everyone and their mother is reviewing WrestleMania, so just go ahead, pick one. You don't waste the time for me to do it, because I'm just going to sit here and be miserable. No one wants that, not unless you pay me. Pay me, I'll be miserable. But I'll be back Monday, and we'll see. Look, we'll see what happens, what we get to talk about. But definitely WrestleMania Fallout will be on the menu. As a reminder, the Dynamite review is available right now on the channel and also on your favorite podcast application, such as the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is as well. So I hope you take the time to enjoy and check those out and have a lovely time. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you have a great WrestleMania weekend. There's stuff coming up tonight. I'm going to go finish watching New Texas Pro that was on earlier today. Didn't catch it live. Going to catch that now. Started watching it before streaming. So there you go. That's what we're going to do here. Going to go watch some wrestling. How about that? And there you go. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks for showing up, everyone. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time.